Hey everyone! If you're building Angular applications, especially larger ones, you've probably run into challenges managing your application state. You know, keeping track of data, sharing it between components, and handling asynchronous operations cleanly. It can get complicated, fast. That's where NgRx comes into play. So, what is NgRx? At its core, NgRx is a framework for building reactive applications in Angular. It provides robust state management, inspired by the Redux pattern. But it's deeply integrated with Angular and heavily leverages RxJS observables. The central idea is a single, immutable store. Think of this store as your application's single source of truth. All the data your application needs to function lives here. This makes your state predictable because data flows in one direction. Let's break down the main players. First, we have actions. Actions are simple, plain JavaScript objects that describe unique events happening in your application. For example, user clicked login button, or products loaded successfully. Each action has a type property, which is a string identifier, and often an optional payload carrying any data associated with that event. When an action is dispatched, it's handled by reducers. Reducers are pure functions. This is a key concept. They take two arguments, the current state and the action that was dispatched. Based on these, they produce and return a brand new state object. They don't modify the existing state, they create a new version. This immutability is crucial for performance, change detection, and debugging. The formula is simple: previous state, action, equals new state. This new state is then updated in the store. The store itself is an RxJS observable of your application state. Components don't directly change the store, they only dispatch actions. So, how do your components get data out of the store? That's where selectors come in. Selectors are also pure functions. They are responsible for querying the store and deriving specific slices of state, or computed data from that state. For instance, you might have a selector to get the list of users, or another to get the currently selected product. NgRx provides memoization for selectors, meaning they only recompute if the relevant part of the state they depend on has actually changed. Which is great for performance. Components subscribe to these selectors to get the latest state updates and react accordingly. Now, what about side effects, like making an API call to fetch data from a server, or writing to local storage? That's handled by effects. Effects listen for specific actions being dispatched. When an action they're interested in occurs, they can perform tasks, like calling an HTTP service. Once that task completes, an effect will typically dispatch new actions. For example, a product's loaded successfully action with the API response, or a product's load failed action if something went wrong. Effects are where you isolate your interactions with the outside world, keeping your reducers pure and focused solely on state transitions. So, the typical flow looks like this. A component, or service, dispatches an action. An effect might intercept this action, perform an asynchronous task, like an API call, and then dispatch another action, a success or failure action. A reducer handles this new action, calculates the new state based on the current state and the action's payload. This new state is saved in the store. Selectors emit this new state to any subscribed components. Components then update their UI based on this new state data. Why go through all this? NgRx gives you incredible predictability, makes debugging much easier, especially with tools like the Redux DevTools, which integrate beautifully with NgRx for time travel debugging, enhances testability because your logic is often in pure functions, and can improve performance when used correctly with Angular's on-push change detection strategy. It might seem like a bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of these core concepts, store, actions, reducers, selectors, and effects, NgRx can seriously level up how you build robust, scalable, and maintainable Angular applications.